Eva Diaz, the curator of the Parsons MFA Fine Arts Department booth, and I'm going to introduce you to Eva, and she's going to talk about the booth and how she curated the booth and the ideas about it, and this is part of Pulse Profile, so Pulse Profiles, Eva Diaz. Thanks for leading.
So I just want to quickly run through the motivation for the booth, which, I don't know, can you guys hear me? It's kind of loud with this event. We're going to try and really, which I'm getting over a cold, so it's a little raspy. I was asked to do the booth, which in previous year, last year, had a reading room conceit, and we wanted to continue that idea of thinking what this so to that end, in the booth, that there's books that the students loan along with their work for the show. And this collective library was a way to, in addition to incorporating everybody's intellectual interest, I also wanted, in doing the visits with the 41 MFA students, to include work by every one of the artists too. So you'll see that the diminutive scale of many of the works I felt was both to fit in the booth, but also because at the studio level in New York, things happen at a small level and sometimes project out larger. So there was really something to be found in everybody's studio that I thought was really interesting. It would be nice to think of the cohort of graduate school as a sort of total picture, books, work, and just to think of what that community of graduate school might be like today. So I don't know if you want to sort of move in and look at things, or I can talk a little bit about some of the work specifically. I should definitely mention the installation design. I worked with 3 sculpture students, Angela Basile, Daniel Carlson, and Bojan Petrevsky, to come up with this idea about a modular shelving system so that we could have ways to both display the books and to display the works in various sort of contexts that you would really explore in this work. I like thinking about this project in my book library, the way that there's a hybridity to the kind of space that one encounters books and artworks together, and that those artwork finds its first home in the home. And to think about this as a space that had that kind of eclecticism, and the way in which a bookshelf, for example, might have books of, you might sort of go Dada surrealism, and then you run out of space and it's all Greco-Roman, and so things don't quite fit together, and that every book is not necessarily seen as an individual unit, but part of a sort of more cohesive body of knowledge or form as you collect this library. So in that sense, the works also, though they don't often relate to each other, specifically have that notion of things that you love and things that find their home on, on your bookshelf. So in that sense, the sort of eclecticism of it is really a way to think about this stuff coexisting in your life. And particularly given the art fair context, I wanted to do something that was democratic and incorporated all the students' work, that was a form of selection without excerpting in a way, that would be full of all of these people's work and not to exclude folks, because in a way, the sort of fraught careers of artists later on in the world will mean all kinds of exclusion, and this is, as an educational institution, an opportunity to say everybody is learning here, and we can all sort of be in this together for this time period. Hopefully communities in graduate school will form and continue, but this would be an opportunity to have a cohesive sort of grouping of works. So I don't know if any of you have any questions about what you see, or if anything that I've said sounds really wrong, confounding, or otherwise disputable. We can go through, I don't know, given the short time, I don't know if we can sort of go through all the works, but as you can see, it's largely 2D work. There are 2 video works. There are 2 relatively site-specific pieces. You can see in here, Donna has done a work, and then Lars, something from the studio. So most things work on the modular aspect of the booth.
Do you consider the modular shelf to be a work?
Well, it was a collaboration between the 3 artists that I mentioned, and I had wanted to do something that that he solicited from friends that might be like really sort of strange about it. It's like some friend's hair or a work by another friend, or his own work. And so the bird's bow became this hybrid architectural, sculptural installation. So I was sort of thinking along those lines too. So in talking with the students, I wanted to do something that was very interested in multiple dimensions, but also in multiple ways of holding things. Given the time and space limitations, it was I think it looks wonderful for them knocking it out and building all this stuff. And they came up with these sort of specific moments of, projection and that. But I really liked the idea of something that had various ways of approaching it. That it could be precious relics, or it could be books, and that these things would all sort of join together, because there was a kind of specialness, or at least for me, these were the things that I liked. And I don't know, I guess that was again this idea of the domestic space, the space that you have the things that accrue on a shelf, and you might have a little cigarette package someone brought you from Belarus next to your books, or a little work. And so, there's this kind of eclecticism of dimensions that the bookshelf has.
Do they each have a piece as well? Each of these three?
Yeah. So, let's see. If there's any other questions, did a quick run through. So have you been on tours earlier today, or just on this one? I think this is one of the few, I think there were a few curated things, but I didn't get a chance to spend too much time with them. So I think it was, again, I wanted to do something that kind of rubbed on the idea of display of, it was a little different than art fair, but still involved that sense of a lot of things coming together. Most of the time when you see these galleries installed, they don't necessarily have any relation to sort of show artists they want to sell. And in this sense, there are little constellations, if when I organized the books, and again, all the students loaned about 3 to 5 of their books that they felt, I had asked for things that they felt were important in terms of their experience as an art student, or that they had read recently and liked. So it could be novels, comic books, theory, anything that was just something that they've been enjoying, and that it doesn't even necessarily have to be part of their research for their work. So little groupings emerge around, feminism, and there might be some kind of work that seems to address that topicality. There's a book about extraterrestrials next to a drawing about aliens. So just like little ways of sort of thinking of it as the way you would curate your own collection of stuff. That it never really makes sense. Like you might have a painting someone gave you, and something that you can never curate your home thing to be a seamless argument. It's kind of always the stuff you love. So in that sense, this wanted to kind of mirror that element of diversity of objects. So I don't know. On that note, I think not so much more to say. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any other questions, let me know.